Unit 3. Writing. Exercise 3.
I think one of the most interesting people in history was Florence Nightingale. She was a nurse, and she started the first nursing school in London. She was born on the 12th of May, 1820. Her parents called her Florence because she was born in Florence, Italy, but as a child, she lived in the UK. In 1844, she decided to become a nurse. In October 1853, the Crimean War started. Florence travelled across Europe to the Barrack Hospital to help the injured soldiers. She soon discovered that there were thousands of patients in the hospital. The hospital was dirty, there were rats, and some of the men didn't have beds. Florence and the other nurses began to clean the hospital, and the men thought she was great. At 12 p.m. on the 13th of August 1910, Florence fell asleep, but she didn't wake up. I like Florence Nightingale because she didn't want to be rich and famous. She wanted better hospitals and training for nurses. Nina.
Unit 3. Culture. Exercise 2.
At about 12 a.m. on the 2nd of September 1666, a fire started in a baker's on Pudding Lane in the City of London. A servant saw the fire and he shouted. The baker, his family and the servant escaped. However, the buildings in London were made of wood, and it was very windy, so the fire quickly spread from house to house. Most people survived, but they couldn't save their wooden houses. This was because the houses were very near each other, and there wasn't a space between the houses to stop the fire. The fire was now enormous, and people only had buckets of water. Finally, after 4 days, the fire stopped when it got to an area with no buildings. The fire destroyed shops and homes. The people of London lost nearly 80% of their city, including 13,000 homes and 175 hectares of land. On the positive side, the fire also killed many of the rats which were carrying the plague. After the fire, Londoners rebuilt their city with wide streets and strong buildings, and they constructed a 61-metre-high monument to the fire. Today, visitors to London can climb the 311 steps to the top and enjoy panoramic views over the City of London.
Unit 3. Dictation. Exercise 1. 1.
He sailed from Spain to America in 1492.
2.
We watched the tornado on the news last night.
3.
My dad was at home at 8 p.m.
4.
I didn't like pizza 3 years ago.
5.
What did you do yesterday?
6.
My sister could walk before she was 1.
Unit 3. Unit Grammar Check. Exercise 5.
When he was 17, the English archaeologist Howard Carter travelled to Egypt to find out more about ancient Egypt. Lord Carnarvon, a rich Englishman, was also interested in ancient Egypt, and in 1907, Carter began to work for him. On the 4th of November 1922, Carter's team discovered a door. They were all very excited. Did they open the door? No, they didn't open the door because Lord Carnarvon wasn't there. 3 weeks later, he arrived in Egypt with his daughter. What did they find when they opened the door? There was a room full of objects. They could see boxes, chairs, sofas, and even flowers. It was Tutankhamun's tomb.
Unit 3. Listening. Exercises 2 and 3. 1.
In October 1091, there was a tornado in London. Scientists today think the wind travelled at over 320 kilometres per hour. Buildings in 1091 were all wood, so when the tornado hit London Bridge, the bridge fell. The tornado also destroyed 600 houses and several churches. But the tornado only killed 2 people.
2.
400 years ago, disaster hit Bristol in the UK. On the 30th of January, the Great Flood of 1607 covered about 500 square kilometres of land and destroyed many houses. In some parts, the water was about 8 metres high, and it travelled at 50 kilometres per hour. People don't know why this flood happened, but some experts believe it was a tsunami. It killed 2,000 people.
3.
At 5:12 a.m. on Wednesday the 18th of April 1906, there was an earthquake in San Francisco. The earthquake was only 1 minute, but it started many fires. These fires spread through the city for 3 days. They destroyed 25,000 buildings and killed between 450 and 700 people. More than 250,000 people lost their homes.